The moment that homeless girl walked into my bookstore on that rainy October afternoon, something in my chest tightened. She was soaked through, wearing clothes 3 sizes too big, but it was her eyes that stopped me cold. Those eyes. I had seen them before, staring back at me from my own mirror, from old photographs, from my son's face. When she asked for any work at all, I heard myself asking, "Who's your mother? How old are you?" Her answer made my world tilt. "Diana Hartley. I'm 16. Diana." The girl Jason dated in college before she vanished from his life. This homeless teenager was my granddaughter. I must have looked like I had seen a ghost, because the girl took a step backward, her hand reaching for the door. My mind was racing, connecting pieces I had buried for 16 years. Diana Hartley. Sweet, quiet Diana, who used to come to Sunday dinners with Jason when he was 22, fresh out of college and full of dreams about starting his own business. Then, one day, she was just gone, and Jason refused to speak about her. He got angry whenever I brought her up, told me it was over, and to stop asking questions. That was 16 years ago. Right before Jason launched his first startup, I steadied myself against the counter, my hands trembling. The girl was watching me with those familiar hazel eyes, wary and ready to bolt. "What's your name?" I managed to ask. "Ashley. Ashley Hartley." Ashley. My granddaughter's name was Ashley, and she had no idea who I was. I took a slow breath, trying to keep my voice calm. "Ashley, forgive me. You remind me of someone." I gestured to the chair near the register. "Please, sit down. You're soaking wet." She hesitated, then perched on the edge of the chair like a bird ready to take flight. Her clothes were threadbare, her sneakers held together with duct tape. She was too thin, her cheekbones sharp beneath pale skin. "You said you're looking for work?" I asked gently. "Yes, ma'am. Anything. I can shelve books, clean, whatever you need. I'm a hard worker, I promise." My heart was breaking. "Tell me about your mother, Diana." Ashley's face closed off. "Why?" "I knew a Diana Hartley once. Long time ago. Is she well?" Something flickered in Ashley's expression. Pain, fear. She's sick. Cancer. Been fighting it for 2 years now. 2 years. While I had been living my quiet life here in this bookstore, my son's daughter had been watching her mother fight cancer. While Jason had been building his empire, cutting me out of his life because I refused to sell this place to fund his ambitions. "Where are you staying, Ashley?" She looked away. "Different places." "The truth, please." Her jaw tightened. "Shelters mostly. Sometimes in our car when we can keep gas in it. Mom's in the hospital right now. Got worse this week. I've been trying to earn money for her medications, but nobody wants to hire someone who doesn't have a permanent address." I made a decision in that moment that would change everything. "I'll hire you, $20 an hour, and you can stay in the apartment upstairs. It's small, but it's warm and dry." Ashley's eyes went wide. "Why? You don't even know me." How could I explain? "Let's just say I believe in giving people a chance when they need one." I stood up, pulling out my keys. "Come on, I'll show you the apartment." As we climbed the narrow stairs to the apartment above the shop, I asked carefully, "Your father, does he help at all?" Ashley's laugh was bitter. "My father? Mom told me he wanted nothing to do with us. Paid her to go away when she got pregnant. I don't even know his name. She won't talk about him. Paid her to go away." My son had paid the mother of his child to disappear. The apartment was small, just a studio with a kitchenette and a bathroom, but Ashley looked at it like it was a palace. "You're really letting me stay here?" "Yes. You start tomorrow morning at 8. Tonight, You take a hot shower, and I'll bring up some soup." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you. Thank you so much." I left her there and went back downstairs, my mind churning. I needed to confront Jason, but I also knew my son. We had not spoken in 4 years, not since that terrible fight when he demanded I sell the bookstore to invest in his latest venture. When I refused, he called me selfish, short-sighted, a failure. He cut me out of his life completely. Now I knew why he had needed that money so desperately. He was building his empire on a foundation of abandoned responsibilities. I was closing up the shop that evening, my mind still reeling, when I heard aggressive pounding on the front door. Through the glass, I saw him, Jason. Older now, harder around the edges, wearing an expensive suit that probably cost more than I made in a month. My blood ran cold. How did he know Ashley was here? I glanced up at the ceiling. Ashley must have heard the pounding too, because I could hear her footsteps above. Jason's face appeared at the window, his eyes wild. "I know she's in there," he shouted. "Send her out now or I'm calling the police." Ashley came running down the stairs, and when she saw Jason through the window, she froze on the bottom step. "That's him," she whispered, her voice shaking. "That's the man who's been following me." My son had been stalking his own daughter. I unlocked the door, my hands steady despite the rage building in my chest. Jason pushed past me into the bookstore, his eyes immediately finding Ashley on the stairs. "Stay right there," I commanded, stepping between them. "Ashley, go upstairs, now." But, now. She disappeared up the stairs, but I knew she would be listening. Jason looked like he had not slept in days. His usually perfect hair was disheveled, his tie loose, and there was a desperate edge to him I had never seen before. "What are you doing, Jason?" I asked quietly. "What am I doing? What are you doing, harboring a minor without parental permission?" He ran his hands through his hair. "You have no idea what you've walked into, Mother. She's your daughter." I said each word carefully, watching his face. "Your daughter, Jason, 16 years old, and you abandoned her." He did not deny it. That stunned me more than anything. He just stood there, his jaw working, and finally said, "It's complicated." "Complicated?" My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. "You got a woman pregnant, paid her to go away, and never looked back. That's not complicated. That's cowardice. You don't understand the situation I was in back then." He started pacing, his expensive shoes clicking on the old wooden floor. "I was building something. I couldn't afford distractions." Diana understood that. We made an arrangement. An arrangement. I felt sick. She was carrying your child, and I paid her well for it. He whirled to face me. $50,000, more than enough to take care of things. Take care of things? I stared at this stranger who looked like my son. "Is that what you call raising your daughter alone?" She chose to keep it. That was her choice. "It? You mean your daughter? Ashley. Say her name, Jason." He flinched, but said nothing. "Why are you here?" I asked. "If you wanted nothing to do with her for 16 years, why start following her now?" His face went carefully blank. "Diana contacted my office 3 weeks ago. She's dying, wants child support, threatening to go public." He straightened his tie. "I need this handled quietly." The coldness in his voice chilled me. Handled. Like she's a business problem. "Everything is a business problem, Mother. My company just went public. I'm worth $400 million on paper. A scandal right now would destroy me. The stock price would tank. I have investors to think about. Employees, responsibilities. You have a daughter to think about. I have a situation to manage." He pulled out his phone. Diana refused my settlement offer. She wants me involved in Ashley's life. She wants me to acknowledge her publicly. I can't do that. Why not? Because I have a reputation. I'm getting married in 6 months to the daughter of my biggest investor. She doesn't know about any of this. Nobody knows. Diana kept her word until now. His face twisted with anger. But now she's dying and she's getting sentimental, wants to play happy family before she goes. I felt like I was talking to a stranger. What do you want from Ashley? I want her to convince Diana to sign the non-disclosure agreement. I'm offering a trust fund for Ashley, $2 million, accessible when she's 25. But Diana has to sign, and Ashley has to agree to never contact me or speak about this publicly. You want to buy your daughter's silence. I want to protect what I've built, he was shouting now. You, of all people, should understand that. Oh, wait, you don't. Because you're still running this pathetic little bookstore instead of making something of yourself. The old wound opened fresh. This was why we had not spoken in 4 years. Because I had chosen this bookstore, my husband's legacy, over Jason's ambitions. Get out, I said quietly. I'm not leaving without. Get out. Or I call the police myself. I'll tell them you've been stalking a minor, that you just admitted to attempting to coerce her into signing away her rights. His eyes narrowed. You wouldn't. I'm your son. Right now, I don't recognize you as my son. The boy I raised would never treat his own child this way. He stared at me for a long moment, then laughed bitterly. You really think you can fight me on this? You can barely keep this place running. I checked your finances. You're 1 bad month from bankruptcy. I've managed for 35 years. I'll manage now. Not when I sue you for grandparent rights interference. Not when I report you for harboring a minor without guardian permission. Not when I get the city to inspect this building and find all the code violations I know are here. He leaned close. I will bury you, Mother, and you'll lose everything trying to fight me. Then I'll lose everything. But I won't hand that girl over to you. He studied me, and for a moment I saw something flicker in his eyes. Regret? Doubt? Then it was gone, replaced by cold determination. You have 24 hours to reconsider, he said. After that, my lawyers get involved. He walked out, leaving me shaking in the middle of my bookstore. Ashley appeared at the top of the stairs, tears streaming down her face. You heard, I said. It was not a question. She came down slowly. He knew about me all along. All this time, I thought. Mom always said he didn't know, that she never told him. Her voice broke. But he knew. He chose to stay away. I opened my arms and she collapsed into them, sobbing. This girl I had just met, who shared my blood, who had been carrying this abandonment her whole life. I'm your grandmother, Ashley. I whispered into her hair. And I promise you, I will protect you. We stood there in the dim bookstore, holding each other, and I felt the weight of the battle ahead. Jason was powerful, wealthy, and ruthless. But he had made a crucial mistake. He had underestimated what a grandmother would do to protect her granddaughter. My phone rang near midnight. I had finally convinced Ashley to try to sleep, though I doubted either of us would. The number was unfamiliar. Miss Cooper? This is Memorial Hospital calling about Diana Hartley. Miss Hartley has asked to see her daughter. Her condition has deteriorated significantly. We think you should come soon. Ashley and I threw on clothes and raced to the hospital. The nurse led us to a small room where Diana lay, looking impossibly small in the hospital bed. She was only 38 years old, but cancer had aged her. When she saw Ashley, her face lit up. "Baby," she whispered. Ashley rushed to her side, taking her hand. Diana's eyes found mine over Ashley's head. "You're her grandmother," she said. "Not a question. I see it now. You have his eyes." "I'm Lana," I said, coming closer. "Jason's mother." Thank God. Diana's grip on Ashley's hand tightened. "I was so worried about what would happen to her after. But if you're here, I'll take care of her," I promised. "I swear it." Diana's eyes filled with tears. "There's something I need to tell you about Jason. Something you need to know." The door burst open. Jason stood there, no longer in his suit, but in jeans and a rumpled shirt, flanked by a woman in a business suit carrying a briefcase. "What are you doing here?" I demanded. The woman stepped forward. "I'm Catherine Brooks, legal counsel for Jason Cooper. We have a court order granting Mr. Cooper temporary emergency custody of the minor Ashley Hartley." She held out papers. "What?" Ashley's voice was a frightened squeak. "Her mother is incapacitated and unable to make decisions regarding the child's welfare," Catherine continued in a flat, professional tone. "Mr. Cooper, as the biological father, has petitioned for and been granted emergency custody to protect the minor from unstable living situations." "Unstable?" I looked at Jason. "You can't be serious. You're harboring a runaway in an apartment above a failing business," Catherine said. "Mr. Cooper is prepared to provide appropriate housing, education, and care." "Jason, please," Diana whispered from the bed. "Don't do this." But he was not looking at her. He was looking at Ashley, who was pressed against the far wall, shaking her head. "I won't go with you," Ashley said. "You don't want me. You just want me to disappear." "What I want," Jason said quietly, "is to protect you. Whether you believe that or not." 2 hospital security guards appeared in the doorway. Catherine handed them the court order. "The minor needs to come with us." "No!" Ashley tried to run to me, but the security guards blocked her path. "Ashley Hartley, you need to come with your father," one guard said. "He's not my father. He's never been my father." I tried to intervene, but Catherine stepped in my way. "The court order is valid. Any interference will result in legal consequences for you, Miss Cooper." They took her. Ashley screamed my name as they escorted her out, Jason walking behind them without looking back. Catherine handed me a card. "Custody hearing is scheduled for next week. You'll receive formal notice." Then they were gone, and I was left in the hospital room with Diana, who was sobbing weakly into her pillow. "I tried to tell you," Diana gasped between sobs. "He's been embezzling from his own company. I found out when we were together. He paid me to keep quiet, but I kept the evidence. I kept everything." She fumbled for her purse with shaking hands, pulled out a small key. "Safe deposit box, First National Bank, box 213. It's all there. Use it to protect Ashley. Please. He's dangerous when he's cornered." I took the key, my mind reeling. "Diana, promise me." Her breathing was labored now. "Promise me you'll keep her safe." "I promise." She closed her eyes, and I held her hand as her breathing gradually slowed. The nurse came in, checked her vitals, adjusted medications. Diana never opened her eyes again. She died 3 hours later, as dawn broke over the city, with me sitting beside her holding her hand because her daughter could not be there. I left the hospital in a daze as the sun was rising. Diana was gone. Ashley was with Jason, and I had a key to evidence I did not fully understand. I had not slept. I called my lawyer friend Marcus Patterson as soon as I thought it was a reasonable hour. Marcus had been my husband's college roommate, had handled our wills and estate planning. He was semi-retired now, mostly playing golf, but he agreed to see me immediately when I told him it was an emergency. In his office 2 hours later, I explained everything. He listened without interrupting, his weathered face growing more concerned as I talked. "Let me see the custody order," he said when I finished. I had grabbed a copy from the hospital. He read it carefully, his frown deepening. "This was filed and approved in less than 24 hours, he said finally. "That's extremely fast. Jason must have called in some serious favors." He set the papers down. "The judge granted it based on Jason's claim that Diana is incapacitated and unable to care for Ashley, that Ashley has been living in unstable conditions with strangers, and that as the biological father, he's the appropriate guardian. Can we fight it?" "Yes. But Lana, I need to be honest with you. Jason has resources we don't. This kind of legal battle could take months and cost tens of thousands of dollars. The bookstore is barely profitable, I know." I slumped in my chair. "But I can't just leave Ashley with him. You didn't hear the way he talked about her. Like she's a problem to be managed." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "There's another issue. Even if we challenge this in court, we need grounds. You're the grandmother, but you've had no relationship with Ashley until yesterday. Jason is the biological father. Unless we can prove he's unfit, the court will side with him. What about Diana's evidence? About his embezzling? What exactly do you have?" "I don't know yet. Diana gave me a key to a safe deposit box. She said Jason was embezzling, that she kept proof." Marcus leaned forward. "If that's true, that could change things. But Lana, if you're going to use that evidence, you need to be prepared for the consequences. You'd be turning your own son in for criminal activity." The weight of that settled on me. "I know. Do you? Because if there's real evidence of embezzlement, Jason could go to prison. His company could collapse. This isn't just about custody. This could destroy his entire life." I thought about the man who had stood in my bookstore last night, who had spoken about his daughter like she was a line item on a balance sheet, who had tracked her down not out of love but to protect his reputation. "Let me get the evidence first," I said. "Then we'll decide what to do with it." That afternoon I went to First National Bank with Diana's key. The manager verified my authorization since Diana had listed me as an approved accessor in her final days. Inside box 213, I found a thick folder of documents. I took them to Marcus's office. We spread them out on his conference table. Financial records, emails, bank statements, even audio recordings on old CDs. Diana had been meticulous. The story the documents told made me sick. 16 years ago, Jason's first startup had been funded by private investors. He had been handling the finances himself. Diana, who had been living with him and working as his assistant, had noticed discrepancies. Money going out that did not match the books. Invoices for services never rendered. Payments to shell companies. When she confronted him, he admitted it. He was skimming from the investor funds to support his lifestyle, telling himself he would pay it back when the company took off. Diana had been horrified. She had made copies of everything, intending to go to the authorities. Then she found out she was pregnant. Jason offered her a deal, $50,000 to disappear and never mention the embezzlement or the pregnancy. If she refused, he would claim she was the one stealing, that he had proof she had been manipulating the accounts. He would ruin her. Pregnant, scared, and 22 years old, Diana took the money and left. But she kept the evidence, just in case. "This is enough to bring charges," Marcus said, his face grim. "But Lana, look at the dates. This is all 16 years old. Statute of limitations on most financial crimes in this state is 6 years. It's possible he can't be prosecuted for this anymore." My heart sank. "So it's useless?" "Not useless. We could use it as leverage. Make him understand that we have proof of his past crimes, that we could make it public even if it can't be prosecuted. The scandal alone could damage him." Marcus hesitated. but he might call our bluff, and using it could backfire legally in the custody case. His lawyers could argue we're trying to blackmail him. What about seeing Ashley? Can I at least visit her? I'll file a motion for grandparent visitation rights. But it'll take time to get a hearing. Time. While Ashley was with a man who saw her as a threat to be neutralized, I tried calling Jason. He had blocked my number. I went to his penthouse building downtown. The doorman, polite but firm, informed me that Mr. Cooper had left instructions that I was not to be admitted. I sent letters. They were returned unopened. 3 days later, I received a thick envelope from Catherine Brooks's law firm. Inside was not just a response to any custody challenge, but a lawsuit. Jason was suing me for interference with parental rights and demanding I sell my bookstore to pay damages. The amount he was asking for, $300,000. Attached was another document. A city building inspector had visited my property and found multiple code violations. Electrical wiring that was not up to current standards. Plumbing issues. A cracked foundation that needed immediate attention. Estimated repair cost, $120,000. I had 30 days to complete the repairs, or the building would be condemned. I sat in my empty bookstore, holding these documents, and understood the full scope of what Jason was doing. He was not just taking Ashley. He was destroying me financially, so I could not fight back. The bell above my door chimed. Marcus came in, took one look at my face, and said, "What happened?" I handed him the papers. He read them, his expression darkening. The building inspection. "Did you request this?" "No." Jason said he would do this. He made good on his threat. Marcus examined the inspection report. Some of these violations are legitimate. Old buildings like this always have issues. But some of these, he tapped the paper. This feels excessive, like they were looking for every possible thing to cite. Can I fight the inspection? You can appeal, but that takes time you don't have. The 30-day deadline stands. He ran calculations on his phone. "Lana, even if you could get loans, the bookstore isn't profitable enough to pay them back. The property's value is in the land, but selling would take months. So I'm trapped." "I'm sorry." I looked around at my bookstore. My husband Tom and I had opened it 35 years ago, newlyweds with a dream. We had struggled, survived, built something lasting. Tom had died 8 years ago, and this place was all I had left of him. These shelves he had built with his own hands, the reading nook by the window where he used to sit on slow afternoons. Jason had played here as a boy, had grown up surrounded by books and the smell of old paper. When had he become this person who would destroy his mother's livelihood to get what he wanted? "What are my options?" I asked Marcus. "Honestly? Sell the building. It'll cover the lawsuit, the repairs if you buy elsewhere, and leave you something to fight the custody battle." He paused. "Which is exactly what Jason wants. And if I don't sell, you'll lose the building anyway when it's condemned. You'll still owe for the lawsuit, and you'll have nothing left to fight with." I spent a sleepless night trying to decide. At 3 a.m, I gave up on sleep and did what I always did when I needed to think. I went down to the bookstore, made tea, and sat in Tom's chair by the window. "What do I do?" I asked the empty air, as if Tom might answer. The morning brought another call from Marcus. Jason's office reached out. He wants to meet. Says he has a proposal. We met at an upscale restaurant, Jason's choice. He looked composed again, back in his armor of expensive suits and confidence. He was alone this time, no lawyers. "Mother," he said as I sat down across from him, "I'm glad you agreed to meet. I didn't have much choice." He ordered coffee for both of us without asking what I wanted. I've been thinking about our situation. I don't want this to turn uglier than it already has. You're my mother. Despite everything, that still means something. Does it? He ignored the question. Here's what I'm proposing. You sign documents waiving any custody claims to Ashley. You hand over whatever Diana gave you at the hospital. In exchange, I drop the lawsuit. I'll even help with the building repairs. And Ashley will be well cared for. Private school, college fund, everything she needs, except a father who loves her. His jaw tightened. I'll provide for her. That's more than most people get. I pulled out the folder of Diana's evidence and set it on the table between us. His eyes went to it immediately, and I saw recognition and fear. I know what you did, I said quietly. Diana kept records. Everything. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, that evidence is 16 years old. Statute of limitations has expired. My lawyers have already confirmed it. Maybe. But the scandal would still damage you. Your investors, your fiancé, your reputation. I leaned forward. Let Ashley go. Drop your custody claim, and I'll destroy this evidence. He laughed. Actually laughed. You think I'm afraid of old allegations? I'm a respected businessman now, Mother. You're a struggling bookstore owner with a grudge. Who do you think people will believe? I think they'll believe documented proof. Proof that can't be used in court. Proof that makes you look like you're trying to extort your own son. He stood up. You have 24 hours to accept my offer. After that, I move forward with everything. The lawsuit, the building condemnation, all of it. And you'll lose everything anyway, including any chance to ever see Ashley again. He walked out, leaving me with the cold remains of coffee I had not touched. I sat there for a long time, weighing impossible choices. Then I gathered Diana's evidence and left. That night, my phone rang at 11. Unknown number again. I almost did not answer. Grandma? Ashley. I nearly dropped the phone. Are you okay? Where are you? I'm at his apartment. He's asleep. I found an old phone hidden in a drawer. Her voice was shaking. Grandma, I can't stay here. He locks me in my room at night. He monitors everything. He's planning something worse. I heard him on the phone with someone, talking about sending me somewhere long-term where I can't cause problems. My blood ran cold. Somewhere long-term? I think some kind of boarding school or facility. I heard him say it's in Utah, that once I'm there I'll be contained. Grandma, I'm scared. Listen to me. Can you get out? Can you come to the bookstore? The doors have alarms. His security is everywhere. But maybe if I wait until... There was a sound in the background. Ashley gasped. He's up. I have to go. Ashley, wait. The line went dead. I tried calling back, but the number was disconnected. An old burner phone, probably. I did not sleep that night. At 7 in the morning, my doorbell rang. Not the shop door, but my apartment above. I opened it to find 2 police officers and Jason's head of security. Lana Cooper? One officer asked. Yes? We have a report of a distressed minor who called from this location last night. We need to ask you some questions. Behind them, Jason appeared on the stairs. Ashley used a contraband phone to contact my mother last night. I'm concerned there's been coaching or manipulation occurring. I haven't seen Ashley since you took her from the hospital, I said. But you spoke to her, the security chief said. We have phone records. She called me. She's scared. She told me you're planning to send her away. I'm enrolling her in a therapeutic boarding school, Jason said smoothly. Ashley has experienced significant trauma. She needs professional help. My mother is interfering with that process. The police asked more questions. I answered as carefully as I could, but I could see them already siding with Jason. The concerned father trying to help his troubled daughter, being undermined by an interfering grandmother. They left with a warning not to attempt to contact Ashley directly. Jason lingered on the stairs after they left. "You see how this works now," he said quietly. "Every move you make, I'm 3 steps ahead. You can't win this, Mother. Accept my offer." The next 2 weeks felt like watching a building collapse in slow motion. Marcus filed motions for visitation rights. Jason's lawyers buried us in paperwork. Every attempt to see Ashley was blocked by legal maneuvers I did not understand. The building inspection deadline loomed. I got estimates from 3 different contractors. The cheapest quote came in at $143,000. My business account had $12,000. My personal savings had another $18,000. I had $30,000 in retirement funds I could access with penalties. I was $60,000 short, and I had 12 days left. Marcus called with more bad news. "The preliminary custody hearing is tomorrow. Jason's lawyers are pushing hard. They're presenting Ashley as a traumatized, unstable minor who needs her father's structure and resources." "Have you been able to talk to Ashley? Get her testimony?" Jason's lawyers got a psychiatrist to evaluate her. The psychiatrist says she's too emotionally fragile to testify right now. The judge agreed. "That's convenient." "Lana, I have to be honest. We're losing. Jason has money, lawyers, expert witnesses. He's painted a picture of himself as a concerned father stepping up, and you as an unstable grandmother who's enabling a runaway." Marcus sighed. "Unless we have something concrete to prove he's unfit, the judge is going to rule in his favor." "What about Diana's evidence?" "It's 16 years old, and not directly relevant to Ashley's welfare. If we bring it up now, his lawyers will accuse us of trying to blackmail him. It could make things worse." I hung up feeling hollow. I walked through my bookstore, touching the spines of books, remembering Tom and I picking out every shelf. Jason, as a little boy, sitting in the corner reading while we worked. Customers who had become friends over decades. The book club that met here every Thursday evening. The high school kids who came here to study because their homes were too chaotic. This place was not just my livelihood, it was a community hub. And Jason was going to destroy it because I would not let him destroy his daughter too. The custody hearing was worse than I imagined. Jason arrived with Catherine Brooks and 2 other lawyers. They presented a comprehensive case. Ashley needed stability, structure, professional help. Jason was prepared to provide all of that. He had enrolled her in the prestigious Riverside Academy, hired a private therapist, set up a trust fund. I had Marcus and desperation. When I took the stand, Catherine Brooks dismantled me with surgical precision. She brought up the bookstore's financial troubles, the code violations, my complete lack of relationship with Ashley until 2 weeks ago, the fact that I had encouraged a minor to defy her father's custody. "Miss Cooper, isn't it true that you're facing bankruptcy?" Catherine asked. "The building needs repairs," I said carefully. $143,000 in repairs, correct? "And you don't have that money?" "Not currently." "And isn't it also true that you've had no contact with your granddaughter for her entire life until she walked into your store?" "I didn't know she existed." "Because your son chose not to tell you. That was his decision as her parent. Yet you're now attempting to override his parental authority based on a 2-week acquaintance with this child." It went on like that. By the time I stepped down, I felt stripped bare. Jason took the stand next. He was perfect, composed, concerned, reasonable. He explained how Diana had cut him out of Ashley's life years ago, how he had only recently learned his daughter was in crisis, how he was trying to do right by her now, to give her the stability and resources she needed. "I understand my mother means well," he said, looking directly at the judge. But Ashley needs professional help, not well-meaning amateurs. She's been through trauma. She needs structure, therapy, education. I can provide all of that. The judge asked about the therapeutic boarding school in Utah. Jason explained it was a highly regarded facility specializing in helping teens process trauma. He presented brochures, testimonials, accreditation documents. It sounded perfect. If you did not know, it was essentially a lockdown facility, the judge ruled from the bench. While I appreciate Miss Cooper's concern for her granddaughter, the evidence shows that Mr. Cooper is prepared to provide appropriate care. Custody remains with the father. Miss Cooper may petition for supervised visitation after Ashley has had time to settle and begin therapy. Marcus tried to argue. The judge cut him off. My ruling stands. We're adjourned. I watched Jason gather his papers, shake hands with his lawyers, and walk out without looking at me once. When is he sending her to Utah? I asked Marcus. The school enrollment papers show transfer date for 3 days from now. 3 days. Then Ashley would be gone where I could not reach her, could not protect her, could not even talk to her. I went back to my bookstore in a fog. There were customers waiting, people wanting books, asking questions, and I could not focus on any of it. I closed early, something I never did, and sat in the darkening store wondering how everything had gone so wrong. The next morning, a city inspector appeared with a formal condemnation notice. I had 72 hours to vacate the building. Marcus arrived an hour later with another stack of papers. Jason's lawsuit was proceeding. His lawyers were demanding immediate payment or seizure of assets. You could declare bankruptcy, Marcus said gently. That would stop the seizure, give you time. Time for what? Ashley will be gone. The bookstore will be gone. What am I buying time for? He had no answer. I spent that afternoon sitting among my books, crying for the first time since Tom died. I cried for Diana, who had fought so hard and died alone, for Ashley, being shipped off to strangers because her father found her inconvenient, for my son, who I had somehow failed to raise into a man capable of compassion, for Tom, who would be heartbroken to see what had become of our family, for myself, because I was losing everything and there was nothing I could do to stop it. My phone rang at 6 that evening. Marcus, his voice tight with unusual excitement. Lana, my investigator, kept digging into Jason's finances. He found something. Jason's embezzlement didn't stop 16 years ago. He's still doing it. And he's gotten much, much bolder. I sat up straight. What? His company went public 6 months ago. The numbers they filed with the SEC don't match his actual accounts. He's been cooking the books, inflating revenues, hiding debts. The amounts are massive. We're talking millions of dollars in fraud. Are you sure? My guy is former FBI white-collar crimes division. He's sure. This isn't old evidence, Lana. This is current active securities fraud. The SEC would be very interested. Marcus paused. But there's something you need to understand. Going public with this will destroy Jason completely. His company will collapse. He'll go to federal prison. Hundreds of people will lose their jobs. And he's still your son. I sat in the darkness of my bookstore, Diana's old evidence spread on the counter, Marcus waiting on the phone for an answer. If I do this, Ashley goes into foster care, I said slowly. Jason won't be able to take care of her from prison. We could fight for custody then. With Jason unfit, you'd have a real chance. Or the state could decide, I'm too old, too unstable, too broke. They could put her with strangers. That's possible. But if I don't do this, she goes to that facility in Utah, and I lose any chance of ever being part of her life. Yes. I thought about Ashley's eyes when she looked at me. about her calling me grandma in that whispered phone call, about Diana dying, begging me to protect her daughter. I thought about Jason, the boy who used to bring me flowers he picked from the neighbor's garden, who read every book in this store twice, who used to tell me he wanted to be just like his father when he grew up. Somewhere along the way, I had lost that boy. Or maybe he had never really existed. Maybe I had been seeing what I wanted to see instead of what was really there. Do it, I said. Contact the SEC. Give them everything. Are you sure? There's no going back from this. I looked around at my bookstore, at Tom's chair, at the life we had built, at everything I was about to lose anyway. I'm sure. Ashley needs me more than Jason does, and maybe this is the only way to save them both. Marcus worked through the night. By morning, he had compiled everything his investigator found, along with Diana's old evidence showing a pattern of behavior. He contacted an SEC investigator he knew from previous cases. They moved fast because the fraud was ongoing and massive. But legal processes take time, and time was the one thing we did not have. Ashley was being transported to the Utah facility in 48 hours. I tried everything I could think of. I called the school, claiming to be a concerned guardian. They would not talk to me without parental authorization. I contacted Child Protective Services, but Jason's custody was legal and there was no evidence of abuse, just a concerned father enrolling his daughter in therapy. Marcus filed emergency motions to stop the transfer. Jason's lawyers blocked them all. That night, unable to sleep, I was in the bookstore packing books into boxes when I heard breaking glass upstairs. I ran up to find Ashley climbing through my apartment window, bleeding from cuts on her hands and arms. "Ashley, how did you—" I jumped from the fire escape. His security didn't see me. She was shaking, pale, her eyes wild with fear. "Grandma, please, you have to help me." I heard him on the phone again. "The place he's sending me, it's not just a school. They keep kids there for years. Some kids never leave. He's going to make sure I disappear." I grabbed towels, pressed them to her bleeding hands. "Let me call Marcus. We'll figure this out." "There's no time. His security tracks my phone. They'll be here any minute." I turned it off blocks away, "but they'll search here first." She was right. Even as she spoke, I heard vehicles pulling up outside. Through the window, I saw Jason's security team, 3 large men in dark suits, along with 2 police cars. "We have to hide you," I said, pulling her toward the back room. "They'll search everywhere." She was right again. This was not a big building. There was nowhere to hide that they would not find. The pounding started on the door below. "Police! Open up!" Ashley grabbed my arm, her eyes desperate. "Please don't let them take me. Please." I looked at this girl, my granddaughter, bleeding and terrified. I looked at the door where men were demanding entry. I made a choice that I knew would have consequences I could not predict. I called down, "Just a moment," then quietly to Ashley, "Stay here. Let me handle this. But trust me." I went downstairs and opened the door. 2 officers stood there with Jason's security chief, a man named Derek. "We have reason to believe a minor ran away from custodial care and came here," one officer said. "Ashley?" I kept my voice calm. "She's not here. We'd like to search the premises. Do you have a warrant?" The officers exchanged glances. "No, ma'am. But the father is very concerned. The minor is injured and may need medical attention. If I see her, I'll call immediately," I said. "But she's not here." Derek pushed forward. "She was tracked to this area. Her phone last pinged 3 blocks from here. Then maybe she's 3 blocks from here." "Miss Cooper," the second officer said, more gently, "if you're hiding her, you're making things worse. For her and for you." Before I could answer, there was a crash from upstairs. Ashley must have tripped or knocked something over. Everyone heard it. The officers looked at me. "Ma'am, step aside. I'd like to see a warrant first. We have reasonable cause to believe a minor in distress is on the premises. We don't need a warrant." They moved past me, Derek, right behind them. I followed them up the stairs, my heart hammering. They would find Ashley. They would take her. And I would face charges for hiding her. Ashley was standing in the middle of my small living room, still bleeding, looking small and scared. When she saw the officers, she backed against the wall. "Please," she said, "please don't make me go back. Ashley, you need to come with us," one officer said. "Your father is very worried." "He's not worried. He wants to get rid of me." "That's not what he says. He says, you're having trouble adjusting, that you need help." Derek stepped forward with handcuffs, for her safety during transport. "She's 16, I protested. "She doesn't need handcuffs." But they cuffed her anyway. Ashley was crying now, looking at me with betrayal in her eyes, like I had let her down. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I'm so sorry." They took her. I stood in my apartment, looking at the blood on my towels, and felt like the worst grandmother who ever lived. I had promised to protect her, and I had failed. My phone rang. "Jason." "This is getting out of hand, Mother," he said without preamble. "Ashley could have been seriously hurt running around the city at night. This is exactly why she needs professional supervision. She's terrified of you. She's confused and grieving her mother. The doctors at Riverside will help her process that." "The doctors? Or the guards?" Silence. Then, "I'm moving up her transport. She leaves tomorrow morning. And I'm filing a restraining order. You're not to come within 500 feet of her. If you do, you'll be arrested." He hung up. I sank onto my couch, shaking. Tomorrow morning. Less than 12 hours from now, Ashley would be on a plane to Utah, to a facility I could not reach her in, and I would be legally barred from even trying. The SEC investigation might take weeks or months to result in charges. Ashley would be long gone by then. I had lost. Marcus arrived an hour later and found me still sitting in the same spot. I heard. The police called me. "It's over," I said numbly. "She'll be gone tomorrow. Actually, that's why I'm here." He sat across from me, and for the first time since this started, he was smiling. My contact at the SEC moved faster than I expected. "They executed a search warrant on Jason's company this evening. They've frozen his assets, pending investigation. And they've issued a warrant for his arrest." I stared at him. "What?" "The fraud is so blatant that they're treating it as an emergency situation. They're concerned he'll flee or destroy evidence. They're arresting him tonight. But Ashley's transport won't happen. Once Jason is arrested, his custody claim becomes void. Emergency custody will revert to next of kin. That's you, Lana." I could not process it. After weeks of losing, of being beaten down at every turn, suddenly we were winning? "But you should know," Marcus continued, his smile fading. "The judge will review the custody situation. They'll look at your financial state, your age, everything. It's not guaranteed you'll get to keep her, but I'll have a chance." "You'll have a chance." My phone buzzed. A news alert. Tech CEO Jason Cooper arrested in massive securities fraud case. Company stock plummets. Then another call, this one from the hospital. Jason had been taken into custody at his penthouse. During the arrest, Ashley had some kind of panic attack. They had taken her to the emergency room. "I'll drive you," Marcus said. We rushed to the hospital. Ashley was in a room with a social worker sitting beside her. When she saw me, she burst into tears. "They said he's been arrested. They said I don't have to go to that school." I held her while she sobbed. The social worker explained that Jason was being held without bail due to flight risk. Emergency custody had indeed reverted to me, but there would be a full hearing within 72 hours. "Where will Ashley stay until then?" I asked. "With you, if you're willing. We'll do a home check tomorrow." Ashley gripped my hand. "Please, can I stay with Grandma?" The social worker looked at both of us and nodded. "Let's get you discharged." We went back to the bookstore together. Ashley was exhausted, still shaking from everything. I made her tea and got her settled in the apartment. She fell asleep almost immediately, curled up on my couch like a child. I sat watching her sleep and thought about what came next. Jason was in jail. His company was collapsing. The son I had raised was going to federal prison, and his daughter, my granddaughter, was finally safe. But for how long? The building was still condemned. I had 72 hours to vacate. I had no money for lawyers to fight the permanent custody hearing. Marcus had said the SEC seizure of Jason's assets had uncovered something else, a secret offshore account. In it, Diana's original $50,000, untouched, with 16 years of accumulated interest. It was now worth about $147,000. The FBI was willing to release it directly to Ashley as restitution for child support Jason never paid. As her legal guardian, you'd have access to it for her needs, Marcus had explained. Her needs, like housing repairs, like legal fees for a custody hearing. It was enough. Barely. But enough. I could save the bookstore and fight for Ashley. The question was whether I could win. I did not sleep that night. I sat in Tom's chair, watching the sky lighten through the window, thinking about everything that had brought us to this moment. In the morning, the social worker came to inspect my apartment. She walked through the small space, took notes, asked questions. Then she went downstairs to look at the bookstore. "The building is under condemnation notice," she said, reading from her tablet. "Yes. But we have the money to make repairs now. The contractors can start immediately. I had already called. With Ashley's restitution money released that morning, I had paid the deposit to begin work." The social worker made more notes. "The custody hearing is tomorrow afternoon. Judge Williams will be presiding. You should know that she's very thorough." After she left, Marcus arrived with a different kind of preparation. "We need to talk about what happens at this hearing. The state will argue that you're elderly, financially unstable, and have no experience raising a teenager in crisis. I'm 62, not 90. To them, that matters. They'll also bring up your recent stress, the conflict with Jason, the condemnation notice. They're going to paint you as well-meaning, but unable to provide adequate care. So what do? We show them the truth, that Ashley is thriving with you, that you have a plan, that you're stable and committed." He paused. "And we have something else in our favor. Ashley is 16. In this state at that age, her preference carries significant weight with the judge." That afternoon, Ashley and I talked. Really talked. For the first time since the chaos began. "Are you sure you want to stay with me?" I asked her. "If the judge asks you tomorrow, you need to be honest about what you want." She looked at me with those hazel eyes so much like my own. "Where else would I go? You're my grandmother. You're the only family I have left. The state could place you with a foster family, people trained to deal with teenagers who've been through trauma. I don't want trained people. I want you." Her voice cracked. "You're the only person who's ever chosen me, Grandma. My father didn't want me. My mom loved me, but she was sick for so long. You barely knew me, and you stood up to your own son to protect me. You risked everything for me." I pulled her into a hug. "And I'd do it again. That evening, my phone rang. The jail. Jason wanted to speak with me. I almost declined the call, but something made me accept it. Mother. His voice sounded hollow over the jail phone. Thank you for taking my call. What do you want, Jason? Silence. Then, I need to tell you something. About tomorrow's hearing. If you're going to try to interfere, no, I'm calling to. I'm not going to fight you on custody. I froze. What? I talked to my lawyer. Not Catherine, she quit. A public defender. He explained my situation. I'm facing 20 years minimum. The evidence is overwhelming. My company is gone. Everything I built is gone. His voice broke slightly. And he asked me about Ashley, what I wanted for her. And I realized, I don't know. I don't know my own daughter. I never tried to know her. Jason, let me finish, please. He took a shaky breath. I was so focused on building my empire, on proving myself, on having more than we had growing up. Do you remember? How we struggled after Dad died? We didn't struggle. We had enough. But not much more than enough. And I swore I'd never be just enough. I'd be extraordinary, exceptional, worth something. You were always worth something. You were my son. I know that now. Too late, but I know it. He was quiet for a moment. When Diana got pregnant, I panicked. A baby meant responsibility, meant being tied down, meant my dreams getting smaller. So I threw money at the problem and walked away. Then I spent 16 years pretending I'd made the right choice. Why did you come back now? Why track Ashley down? Because Diana was dying and she wanted child support, and I couldn't let the scandal break, not when I was so close to everything I'd worked for. He laughed bitterly. Turns out I was building an empire on fraud anyway. All those years of sacrifice and ruthlessness, and for what? A prison cell. What about Ashley? I don't have the right to be her father. I lost that right 16 years ago. But you, his voice steadied, you've been more of a parent to her in 3 weeks than I ever was. She needs you. So tomorrow, when the judge asks, my lawyer will submit a statement that I'm not contesting your custody petition, that I believe it's in Ashley's best interest to remain with you. Tears were running down my face. Jason, why? You fought so hard to take her away. Because I was still fighting for my empire, my reputation. It's all gone now anyway. All I have left is a chance to do one decent thing. Let my daughter have the grandmother I tried to take from her. She's still your daughter. She might want to know you someday. Maybe. When I'm a better man than I am today, if I ever become that. He paused. I'm sorry, Mom, for everything, for treating you the way I did, for using the bookstore against you, for forgetting what really matters. I'm sorry, too, I whispered, for not seeing how lost you were, for not fighting harder to stop you before you went this far. This isn't your fault. I made my choices. I have to live with them now. We talked for a few more minutes about small things. He asked about the bookstore, about Ashley, about whether I'd plant tulips this spring like I used to. Normal things that felt extraordinary after everything that had happened. When we hung up, I sat holding the phone and crying for my son. Not the monster who had terrorized his daughter, but the boy he had been. The child I had failed to save from himself. The custody hearing the next day was nothing like I expected. Judge Williams was a stern-looking woman in her 50s who read through all the documents before speaking. Miss Cooper, I've reviewed your petition for custody of your granddaughter Ashley. I've also received a statement from Mr. Jason Cooper declining to contest and recommending custody be granted to you. I glanced at Marcus, who nodded slightly. Jason had kept his word. The state's attorney stood. Your Honor, while we appreciate Mr. Cooper's statement, we have concerns about Miss Cooper's ability to provide adequate care. She's 62 years old, recently faced financial hardship and building condemnation, and has no experience with teenage foster care. The building repairs are underway and fully funded, Marcus countered. Miss Cooper has stable housing and a thriving business. More importantly, Ashley has been stable and happy in her care for the past week, in stark contrast to her deterioration while with her father. Judge Williams turned to Ashley. Young lady, you're 16, old enough to have a voice in this decision. Where do you want to live? Ashley stood, nervous but clear. With my grandmother, Your Honor. She's the only person who's ever made me feel safe. She's the only person who chose me when it was hard. The judge studied her for a long moment. Then she reviewed more papers, made some notes. Miss Cooper, this court is granting you temporary custody for 6 months. During that time, you'll be subject to regular social worker visits. Ashley will be enrolled in school and therapy. At the end of 6 months, we'll review and determine if permanent custody is appropriate. Relief flooded through me. Thank you, Your Honor. Don't thank me yet. The next 6 months will be challenging. Raising a teenager who's experienced trauma isn't easy. You'll need support, resources, and patience. I understand. And Ashley, you'll need to cooperate fully with therapy and school. Understand? Yes, ma'am. The judge signed the order. Just like that, Ashley was officially mine. Temporarily, with conditions, but mine. We left the courthouse together, Marcus grinning beside us. 6 months will fly by. Keep Ashley stable and happy, and Judge Williams will make it permanent. That evening, back at the bookstore where contractors were working on repairs, Ashley and I cooked dinner together in the small kitchen. We talked about school enrollment, about therapy appointments, about normal things. Grandma? Ashley said as we were cleaning up. Do you think I should visit him? My father? Do you want to? She thought about it. Not yet. Maybe someday. When I'm ready to forgive him, that's fair. But maybe you could give him something for me? What? She ran to her backpack and pulled out a drawing, a portrait she'd done of Diana from a photo. It was beautiful, capturing her mother's gentle smile. Tell him. Tell him. This is what he missed. Tell him Mom was amazing. And maybe someday I'll tell him myself. I took the drawing, my throat tight. I'll make sure he gets it. 3 months later, the bookstore repairs were complete, and we were thriving. The publicity around Jason's case had actually brought in curious customers, many of whom became regulars when they discovered what a gem the shop was. Ashley had started school and was catching up quickly. She was seeing a therapist twice a week and slowly processing her grief over Diana. I visited Jason once a month. He looked smaller in prison gray, older than his 38 years, but clearer somehow, like the armor he'd worn his whole adult life had finally cracked enough to let real light in. He asked about Ashley every time. I told him the truth, showing him the drawing she'd made. He cried when he saw it, actually cried. I don't deserve this, he said, holding the picture carefully. None of us deserve the grace we receive, I told him. We just have to be grateful for it and try to do better. 6 months after the custody hearing, Judge Williams called us back to court. Marcus had prepared me, but I was still nervous. Everything depended on this decision. The judge reviewed the social worker reports, Ashley's school records, her therapy progress notes. Then she looked at both of us. Miss Cooper, Ashley, I've seen a lot of custody cases in my career. Most of them involve people fighting over children like their property. This case is different. This is about a grandmother who risked everything to protect a granddaughter she'd just met. and a young woman who, despite tremendous hardship, is thriving under that grandmother's care. She signed a document with a flourish. Permanent custody is granted. Ashley, you're officially home. Ashley grabbed my hand and squeezed. We had done it. Outside the courthouse, Marcus hugged us both. Congratulations, ladies. Now comes the easy part. Just living your lives. He was wrong about it being easy, but he was right about living our lives. The bookstore became something more than just a business. Ashley suggested we start a program for teenagers in difficult situations, giving them jobs and mentorship. We called it Second Chances in honor of Diana. We hired 3 teenagers that first year. Emma, whose parents had kicked her out for being gay. Marcus Jr., who was aging out of foster care with nowhere to go. And Sophia, whose family had been displaced by a fire. They all worked in the bookstore after school and on weekends. We paid them fairly, taught them about books and business, and most importantly, gave them a safe place to belong. The community embraced it. Donations poured in. The local newspaper did a story. We expanded into the vacant shop next door, doubling our space. Part bookstore, part community center, part refuge for kids who needed one. Diana's corner became the heart of the store. A cozy reading nook with comfortable chairs, good light, and shelves of books Diana would have loved. Ashley spent hours there, sometimes reading aloud like she used to for her mother. Jason's trial lasted 3 months. He pleaded guilty to avoid a longer sentence and was given 12 years in federal prison. His empire collapsed completely. The employees who had depended on him lost their jobs. It was a sobering reminder that his choices had consequences far beyond our family. But he used his time in prison differently than I expected. He earned his GED, then started taking college courses. He joined a therapy group for inmates struggling with their past choices, and he wrote letters to Ashley. She did not read them at first. They sat in a box in her closet for months. Then one day, about a year after the trial, she opened one. She came to me that evening, the letter in her hand. He says he's sorry, that he knows sorry doesn't fix anything, but he wanted me to know anyway. What do you want to do? I don't know. I'm still so angry at him. But he's trying, isn't he? He is. Do you think people can really change? Or are they just who they are? I thought about my son, the ambitious young man who had chosen success over family, who had tracked down his daughter to silence her, who had tried to destroy his own mother. And I thought about the man in prison who was taking responsibility, doing the work, trying to become someone his daughter might forgive someday. I think people can change if they really want to, but it takes work and time and a lot of pain. And even then, the people they've hurt don't have to forgive them. Ashley nodded slowly. Maybe I'll write him back. Not today, but someday, when I'm ready. That's fair. 2 years after that first custody hearing, Ashley graduated high school with honors. She'd been accepted to 3 universities. She chose the one closest to home because, as she put it, I'm not ready to be far from the bookstore yet. It's where I found my family. At her graduation party in the bookstore, surrounded by friends and customers and the teens from our Second Chances program, I watched her laugh and talk and shine. This girl who had walked in homeless and desperate, who had almost been lost to a facility where she would have disappeared, was now thriving. Marcus gave a toast. To Lana, who proved that sometimes the fiercest fighter is a grandmother protecting her granddaughter, and to Ashley, who survived everything life threw at her and came out stronger. Everyone cheered. Ashley hugged me tight. None of this would have happened if you hadn't been brave enough to ask me who my mother was. I'm glad I did, I whispered back. That night, after everyone left and the bookstore was clean, Ashley and I went to visit Diana's grave. We brought flowers like we did every month. Ashley had started the tradition of reading aloud from whatever book she was currently loving. Tonight it was poetry. She read Mary Oliver, her voice steady and clear in the twilight. When she finished, she said to the headstone, "I wish you could see the bookstore, Mom. I wish you could see what Grandma and I built. You'd love it." I touched the cool marble. "She knows," I said. "Somehow I think she knows." We drove home as the sun set, the bookstore sign glowing warm when we pulled up. Inside, everything was peaceful. The shelves Tom had built, the register where I'd first seen Ashley, the reading nook where so many kids had found comfort. Ashley was making tea when she asked, "Grandma, do you ever regret it? Turning in your own son?" He lost everything. I thought about it carefully. This was a question she'd asked variations of over the years, like she needed to keep checking my answer. "Not for a single second," I said firmly. "I didn't turn in my son. I saved my granddaughter. And I'd do it again." She came over and hugged me. "Thank you for choosing me. Always," I promised. "I'll always choose you." We finished our tea and turned off the lights together. The bookstore sign stayed on, glowing into the night. A beacon for anyone who needed a safe place, a second chance, a home. I had lost my son to his own choices. I had nearly lost my business, my home, everything I'd built. But I'd gained something immeasurably more precious, my granddaughter, and a purpose bigger than myself. Real love, I'd learned, sometimes means making impossible choices. It means standing up to the people you love most when they're doing wrong. It means protecting the innocent, no matter the cost. Family isn't just about blood. It's built through showing up, through choosing each other, through being there when it's hard. There is life after betrayal, after loss, after everything falling apart. And sometimes, when you fight for what's right instead of what's easy, that life is more beautiful than anything you could have imagined. I looked at Ashley, at the bookstore, at the life we'd built from the ashes of our separate tragedies. We had survived. More than survived. We had thrived. And every day when teens walked through our door looking for hope, we got to give them what Diana had given Ashley, what I had given them both. A chance, a choice, a family. That was worth everything. Now I have a question for you. Have you ever had to make an impossible choice between loyalty to family and doing what's right? Have you ever had to stand up to someone you love because protecting someone else mattered more? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might help someone else facing a similar decision. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button. It helps others find these stories when they need them most. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel for more stories about real people facing real challenges and finding the courage to overcome them. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it, someone who's struggling with their own impossible choices. Thank you for listening to Ashley's and my story. Thank you for being part of this community where we can share our struggles and triumphs without judgment. May you always have the courage to choose love over fear, and may you always know that it's never too late to do the right thing, no matter how hard it seems. Until next time, take care of each other out there.